Live. We are joined today by someone we haven't seen in a very long time on a different program. She was a very good friend of mine, and we're joined today by Dana Grossman. Of course, Dana is the head of Mediate Singapore, and of course, we're going to find out what's the latest in mediation. Dana, what's been happening since we last spoke?
I guess a lot of things have happened. First of all, good to see you again.
Very good to see you.
Thanks for having me. As we spoke last time, mediation is big around the region and it's getting bigger, including in Singapore. So the Minister of Law is highly supporting the mediation scene to grow and to become as important and as common as arbitration, which is very good and very positive. CIMI, the Singapore International Mediation Institute, has been launched like a month or 2 months ago. And ever since, I think people are getting more exposed to mediation, at least I hope so. More cases, hopefully, will come to the different centers of mediation. Another beautiful thing that is happening, that the Institute is trying to put everything, under regulation, so things will be clearer for everybody. What a good mediator is, how can you become a good mediator? I think now we'll be able to monitor more the quality of mediation around the region, of course, in Singapore, firstly. And another thing that is very important, more and more courses and education program has been offered to the mediation community, which is brilliant. So far, you went through a basic course, which is good, and then you started to practice, to volunteer in courts. If you have other cases that you know of, it's brilliant. And now they've tried to produce more programs, more courses for the mediators. So it's an evolving process.
Okay, let's talk about some of the courses that are available right now. Do you have to have a background in law before you can become a mediator in Singapore?
No, you don't have to. I actually think that it's good to have the variety of people coming into this amazing and important scene. In order to become a good mediator, you need to have qualities, personality qualities. You need to be able to be a good listener, active one, to take and to hook on things that the parties are saying in order to identify their interests behind their position. In order to be a good mediator, I would say that yes, you do need to be educated and you need to care. You need to be patient enough and to focus on the process. It's not about the result only. Now, since mediation is about volunteering, you need both parties to agree to come to you, and then you facilitate. You need to be very mature and capable of holding yourself from assuming, from judging, from making the right decision. When you're an arbitrator, you need exactly the opposite, I guess. Okay. I'm not an arbitrator.
Okay, so an arbitrator would need a degree in law, or not necessarily?
Arbitrator, they deal with the law, of course.
Sure.
Mediation, you do deal with the law, but according to our definition, we are not entitled. It is illegal to give a legal advice.
Okay.
So even if I'm a lawyer, I'm not acting as one during the session of mediation.
And even if you were, you would not be allowed to?
No, it's not the process. Yes, you can come with a lawyer, so you can have an ad hoc, advice while we're sitting in the room, but we just need to balance it. So it's either both parties come with lawyers, or if not, then I will send them to get a legal advice before we move onwards. Usually the parties come to mediation either when they have a dispute before they went to court, which is the best.
Sure.
Because then you do save your time and your money, your face, your reputation, your legal right, your legal rights remain protected. And then we discuss together what are the issues that brought you to this situation, and you can get a legal advice and come back. If the parties are referred from the court, it's a bit different, and yet we know what the case is about. We get the case a bit before, we're familiar with the case, with all the facts. The parties can share more on a private session, if you remember, we talked about the structure, or mutual meeting, it doesn't matter. We can do both. And then again, if they need any legal advice, they're entitled to get it in order to reach the best agreement that suits their own needs. It's not about me imposing anything. It's about them bringing the issue and trying to solve it together and taking responsibility, I would say, for their actions before.
So we digressed a bit. We were talking about what makes a good mediator and the courses that are available actually as a career. You can make a career out of mediation these days. So we talked about basic mediation. And of course, do you get mediation in inverted commas specific? Do you deal with specific cases, or is a mediator someone that is supposed to, float around all the different possibilities from business, from social, and perhaps commercial issues?
Exactly, it's a good question. There are two schools of thoughts regarding what a good mediator is. One school of thought say that since if you're a good mediator already, you've done the course, you have your experience, you have the qualities to deal with people, you can have an expertise, like a lawyer, like a doctor, like any other occupation. So there are mediators today in Asia, in Singapore, all over the world that are experienced and they are specifically dealing with, for example, real estate cases, for example, finance. And then they have, I would say, maybe a wider knowledge about this specific field.
Right.
So people will probably choose them if they have a big issue in this specific area. The other school of thought say that regardless what you bring to the table, you don't need to be an expert for everything.
Right.
You need to be an expert of mediation, of negotiation. So whatever is brought back to your table, you can handle it, you can diffuse the tension, you can identify the interests, the needs, the topics. And then I don't need to be an expert in finance in order to deal with a dispute between a bank and a client.
Sure.
I do need to be an expert in knowing how to read the people, how to make them connect, how to make them act and reach an agreement. Which school is better? I would not say.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to think that qualities of mediators are very important. And yet it's up to the person to choose. If they want to go for one field, they're more than welcome.
Now, you've been here for some time now. You've been working with the courts, volunteering in the mediation centers as well. Besides the business part of it, which kinds of cases, I know it's a very subjective thing, are the social cases more difficult rather than the commercial cases? Because with commercial cases, you're dealing with dollars and cents. If I'm dealing with, in a social sphere, perhaps I'm dealing with parents and children, husbands and wives, ex-husbands and ex-wives. Which is more difficult to deal? And how do you not take away some baggage from all of this?
So that's exactly, you pinned it definitely. Anything that related to money, people are very tensed about it. They tend to be very possessive. They keep their ego, they keep their faith. People are getting very sensitive about it. And yet it's about business. So I think when people are coming from the commercial area background,
We can ring fence it.
and people know what they need to achieve. If it's your business, you wouldn't like to waste time and money. You wouldn't like to hurt your own reputation. You have a goal. It's okay to negotiate. It's okay to agree or disagree. This is what we do in the mediation. You try to take responsibility for what you've done, what you could have done better in order to prevent it from happening. You would like to keep your legal record clean. That's why you come to mediation and you don't go to court. And of course, it is the only option exists in the market, the type of negotiation, to keep the control over the outcome. So when you come and you represent a company, you know your interests very well. You can argue, you can play hard to get, you can play very tough, you can stick to the numbers, whatever.
And if you don't like it, you can walk away and go back to
You can
court.
walk away, you go back to court, but you know what the consequences are. A family matter is usually much more complicated because of the emotions. People tend to be less logical when it comes to their own family and their interests. They're becoming more radical because they hear their friends, they hear their family, which usually take one side, which is fair enough, but not very productive for the process itself. There are a lot of things at stake. It's not only money and property. These are the kids. It's your pride. It's your feeling for yourself, maybe feeling for your partner, anger. It is much harder to diffuse. That's why it takes much longer. The process is more complicated. You need more meetings with the wife or with the husband and together, diffusing the things, listing the issues of doing, pay attention to the law so nobody gets hurt later on. You do need the legal advice for them to have. And it is hard also not to take the baggage back home. Then you need to be, I think, slowly when the time passes, probably different for women and men, different for different kind of people. You need to understand what is your goal. I'm not in their family. I'm here to assist. I'm here to help. I'm here to help them to facilitate because I'm the neutral party they can scream at and it's fine. I'm like a sponge. I can take it and then I will put it away. It's not mine. But I am a professional neutral party that can help them achieve an amazing agreement for them to live onwards. If you have kids, it's not going to end when you divorce. You need to take a step forward positively in order to keep something together for the sake of your kids.
We are speaking today with Dana Grossman from Mediate Singapore. We're talking about the qualities that make a good mediator, the kinds of cases that are sent to mediation, and the difficulty in the different kinds of cases that Dana sees on a daily basis, commercial versus social versus family. We will come back, talk about more about family mediation when the Breakfast Club continues in just a moment. Keep it right here on 938 Live. I'm Keith D'Souza. You're Keith D'Souza. We're speaking to a very old friend of 938 Live, Dana Grossman. Dana is a mediator. Actually, she is the founder of Mediate Singapore. We're talking about mediation today and the way that things are progressing. And Dana also teaches people how to become mediators. And before we left, we were talking about social issues and basically family matters and mediation. And Dana has a course specifically designed to help families even before trouble starts. First and foremost, Dana, welcome back into the program.
Yeah, thank you.
Dana, we were talking about you have taught people how to become mediators. You conduct courses to facilitate mediation and how people can become mediators. And we were talking about social issues in the family sector. And you've digressed and you've starting to teach families how to mediate disputes among themselves. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, just to clear things up, people can actually go and sign up for things that are happening in Singapore.
Sure.
There's an amazing center for mediation in Singapore. They conduct regularly mediation courses for corporate people, for family people, for anybody who wants to have it as a skill in order to avoid disputes. This is the SMC.
Right.
What we do, we also run courses for negotiation skills, communication skills, not for being a mediator specifically.
But how to empower yourself
exactly.
in your business capacity.
Exactly. So we do it for the corporate world and we do it for families. And lately I've seen a lot of people approach me during those courses and while we did mediation sessions and said, look, we really think we should do something better within our house, with our spouses, with our kids. And I feel the same. When you have a family, the bigger the family is, the bigger the challenge is.
And the bigger the trouble.
Exactly. So yeah, it is a challenge, as we say in Singapore. We'll try to keep it neutral at least.
Bigger trouble in a smaller space.
Exactly, but you do need to handle it.
Right.
Now, there are a few options. One option is to try to avoid it by enhance new skills, new tools into the daily life in your family. And another option is to handle it while it happens. That's why we have mediation. But in order not to escalate until then, you can actually go. That's what we try to do now. We run talks to parents in different organizations, for parents, for moms, for dads, within the corporate world and outside of that, because we do believe that the best negotiators exist are the kids.
Okay.
They are very good, very precise. They are very persistent. They will not lose their focus. They know what they want to achieve. And they don't care about being right, wrong, or being polite.
Let's digress a bit. So are you teaching children to get between mom and dad or get the best out of mom and dad or what they want out of mom and dad?
I'm trying to teach the parents how to handle better.
Glad we made that distinction.
That's clear, exactly. So yes, I'm trying to teach parents, at least to empower them a bit, how to handle the things in the house in a better way, in a positive way. First of all, to achieve a clear, healthy channel of communication with their kids. Second, while they do that, they actually teach those tools their kids because they set an example. So they actually create a better generation of communicators for the future, which is brilliant. Their kids will be a good communicator, good negotiator, and we will enjoy the fruits later on. And a third thing is that I believe that once you handle things well within a family area, when everything is very tense and it's very emotional, you can do it better later on in the corporate world. Within your organization, within your company, with your partners, employees, or with a third party. So that's what we're trying to do now more and more, to run courses for families. People can find it online if they wish,
Sure.
all the details.
And we will give you those details at the end of the program. But Dana, sorry, I interrupted. Who is more amenable to coming for these courses? Is it the moms or the dads?
I think a lot of mums have come to
I
the
think moms
courses.
have already have this innate ability to negotiate between the husband and the kids and be the mediator without having the training they've learnt on the ground. But are more men coming for
More men are
mediation
coming,
courses?
I think, because first of all, the wife tell them to. One of the partners has experienced something positive. If it's in the work area, the wife or the husband has joined one of those courses, negotiation skills, they know what the benefits are, they know what the tools that they've learned are, and then they recommend the other party. So they are men and women equally. If some of the women have more time because they're with babies or maternity leaves or, with young kids, then they are more free to join. I think it's both for both genders to join, since you start from the same page. So both knows what the goal is, what the options are, and then they collaborate in the house to see it as a negotiation arena. You have the kids trying to go
Yes.
between you. You have them chasing their goals. What is it that you can do? Is it only reacting, or can you actually set some standard beforehand? Not losing your temper, keeping your mind on the interests that you want to achieve with your kids. If you need a break, you take it. If you need to be transparent, you be transparent to your kids. They're not made of sugar, they will not melt, nothing will happen. They are very mature inside. We try to keep them small.
Sure.
But as parents, it's a very powerful, duty, and you can become professional about it. So go and seek for something that can help.
Do you advocate someone going for a mediation course even before trouble starts? Or are people coming to you when trouble is just about starting?
When they're coming to me to have a course, or I go to the corporate, it's in order to empower themselves before things are happening or while it's happening, in order to align all the stuff with the same tools, with the same method. They do come to mediation when things are already happening. With families, I found more and more, which I am very happy to see, that people sometimes seek help before things are escalating. So they will not come to mediation necessarily to get divorced in a better way, which is absolutely correct. They will come in order to try and fix things in the house in order not to get a divorce later on.
So you're also part-time marriage counselor? I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, but you can identify the problems and deal with them properly before it reaches to a dead end.
Are the problems normally small and have been neglected, which then in turn escalates when something minor happens in a family situation?
I think sometimes it depends. There are cases that are very different. Sometimes there's a trigger. Something happened to one of the spouses that brought the things into a dead end. Sometimes these are just habits that lead you to an impasse. So what is it that you do now? Do you keep your habits? Do you keep your ego? And you keep fighting? Or is it time to do some changes? No need to do a 180-degree change. We are all humans. We have our own rights. We have our own desires. We have our own personality. But we started this family out of love and out of choice, hopefully. So something happened on the way. Let's re-look at it and try to identify what is it that we can improve. Feeling still safe and comfortable in our area. But it takes two to tango, as we say, right? And you need to promote the benefit of your spouse if you want to promote the benefit of yourself. And then the whole family will enjoy the benefits, I guess.
Now, the whole week on 938 Live, we've been dealing with relationship issues. We've been talking about marriage dissolution rates. We've also talked about a survey that identified that couples the problems that couples face are different issues between different stages of life. Supposedly, if you were married less than 5 years, there's a certain criteria that most people agree to. But let's talk about what three major things that people have identified when it comes to marriage problems is keeping the spark alive after a certain period of time, financial problems, and of course the fact that I have to balance family and work, and that is a major trigger when trouble starts within the family. Have you found that in mediation situations?
Definitely. I find it on a regular basis. I hear it from my friends. This is something that I handle myself with my family. The balance of work and life definitely has, I think we lost it. Not only in Singapore, it's everywhere in the world. There are some communities, some countries, some societies that have decided to take a step backwards in order to work in order to live, and not the other way around.
Right.
They don't live in order to work.
Right.
It is something that is very hard because of the cost of living in
Indeed.
Singapore and the expectations regarding cultural differences. People from different countries have different expectations, and you try to align yourself, and then you get to trouble at home. Regardless whether a man or a wife, it doesn't matter. Then the financial problems that you've mentioned are, of course, a direct
them
cause
again.
for that. And I think another issue that you didn't point yet, probably you're about to say it as number 4, when you have kids, it's becoming more complicated.
Okay.
Because there are areas that you were not familiar with before. So you could have the same view of things with your spouse, and yet when the kids come, the things are changing because you're evolving, you're growing with them, the challenges are growing with them. Suddenly you're learning new things about yourself. Your little child from inside is coming out. Do you agree with it or not? Parents did something, do you do the same or do you do the opposite? And then things are losing balance within the family. If you would take the same couple and you put them on an island, they would probably handle the things the same way they handled things before. They had their harmony, they had their way of doing things. Once you have kids and you have a third parameter into a family, you handle things differently. And this is something that people need to pay attention to.
So, mediate, mediate, mediate. On that note, Dana Grossman from Mediate Singapore, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And if you want more information on the courses, family courses that Dana conducts, why don't you hit her up on our website, mediate, MED8.com.
.sg.
.sg. You heard it here first. Dana Grossman, thank you so much for joining us on the Breakfast Club this morning. See you come back and talk to us again.
Of course, with pleasure.
We talk with you on 938 Live.